Who is going to win the NBA Finals and how?
If Kevin Durant doesn't play, I got the Raptors winning in 7. If he doesn't play, I got the Raptors winning in 7. I think the interchangeable parts, the versatility of Toronto defensively, the way they can switch positions 1 through 5, it will really, I think, be to the detriment of Golden State because, look, they're going to have to chase Steph and Clay down. But I think they have the pieces to actually do so. Now, Kawhi is a little bit beat up, but if there was a great situation that they did on SportsCenter the other day where they're talking about AI, and they're talking about what happens when AI becomes alive, when artificial intelligence actually gets somewhat of emotion, and then they showed a clip of Kawhi. Like, that is Kawhi. He's a cyborg. I
was wondering where you were going.
He's the one player that I think can have the responsibility defensively and also carry the load offensively if Kevin Durant is not playing in this series.
Okay, so if they are, whether or not he plays or not, Kevin Durant, I believe that the Warriors are going to win in 6. And the reason why I believe that they will get this done is because of their movement. You look at the defense that Toronto played against Milwaukee. Milwaukee was in every game and had every opportunity to get it done, but they really didn't have that last 3-4 minutes. Milwaukee looked more like Houston in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Where Golden State, that movement is constant for them. Clay, Steph, Draymond is playing the best basketball he's played in years. So I really just think that the Golden State Warriors will continue that movement and open things up.
Can you just stop comparing Milwaukee's defense to Toronto's defense? That's so disrespectful.
I'm not comparing.
Milwaukee's defense ranks 9th in the playoffs. 9th in the playoffs. Toronto was top 3.
I was talking about the offense that Milwaukee was playing. I say Golden State in the late game situations where Milwaukee struggled will not be doing that. There will be open shots and layups for everyone because of the way they play and that open style of basketball they've been playing since KD's been out.
To call what Milwaukee was running in those last few minutes of that game in offense would be an insult to offense anyway.
It was like Houston. It was like one guy at the top, and you had shooters around him, a lot of one-on-one, and then it was just the inability to finish.
For what it's worth, my initial inclination, and I allowed myself to be talked out of this because I listened to a lot of people this week, was to take the Warriors in a sweep. I have just seen them rampaging through everyone. So my official prediction is going to be Warriors in 6.
Okay.
Because I believe they will win, and I just until I see someone beat those guys, I'm not going to believe it's going to happen.
Warriors in 6. Stay
Correct.
on this side.
Warriors in 6. We're on this side of that, and Jay Will is sitting all by himself. Now, if it's going to go the other way, everyone would assume that Kawhi Leonard will be a huge part of the reason why. He has been a dominant player in this postseason. I want you to hear what both Draymond Green and the Raptors general manager Masai Ujiri had to say about Kawhi yesterday.
I think the challenge with Kawhi is it doesn't look the same. Like, when Steph dominated a game, like Kevin dominated a game, Damian Lillard dominated a game, LeBron dominated a game. Like, it does not look the same as when Kawhi is dominating the game. It's not as pretty, but boy, is it effective. Kawhi didn't come into this league as a scorer, yet he's one of the best scorers we have in the league now.
He's the best two-way player in the NBA, and when we talk about basketball, we're talking about playing on both ends, and I feel that if we put him on both ends of the court, he has the ability to be the best player in the league.
So I think all of us who look at this thing and say Kawhi will have to be brilliant in order for the Raptors to win. I don't think anyone would disagree with that notion. So does that mean in your mind there's more pressure on Kawhi Leonard in these finals than anybody else?
Well, first off, Kawhi Leonard is a blue-collar superstar. He's a blue-collar superstar. He does all the dirty work, all the grit and grimy stuff that you don't see a lot of other superstars do because he's a great two-way player. I don't think there's any pressure on Kawhi at all. I don't think there's any pressure on Kawhi. I think Kawhi is playing with house money. I think if he wins this thing, that's great for Kawhi. That might incline him to stay in Toronto.
He's already won a championship.
He's already won a championship. If he loses, then you know what? He can go to the Clippers and he can do his thing too. Look, Masai Ujiri made the ultimate bet. He brought Kawhi Leonard on board. Now, I'm not saying that Kawhi won't take this personally to try to win a championship, but I still think that there's no pressure on Kawhi. Kawhi got this team there. Toronto's never been to the NBA Finals. He's got them way past the point they've ever been.
Yeah, no, let's see, for me, I believe it's Steph. And not because of legacy or any of that. I think Steph Curry and this team, there's so much pressure on him to deliver. He hasn't had a great dominant finals, not yet. He's been very good. Again, his numbers are, more impressive than most players could ever dream of. But Steph Curry, in order for this team to win a championship without KD, he's got to be elite and he's got to be high level. That's something that they need, and I think he wants for himself. That's the final piece of the puzzle. I think his legacy is fine regardless.
I actually think both are true, which is to say I think there there is a lot of pressure on Kawhi to the extent that I think if he doesn't play well, his team has next to no chance to win. That creates pressure, however significant you want to make it. But I think the real spotlight is on Steph, because I do think there is a legacy question involved here. Yeah. Steph Curry is already he's going to go down as the greatest shooter of all time and an all-time great. If he carries, without Kevin Durant, this team to a championship and wins a Finals MVP, I think it elevates him. I genuinely believe there is another level to which Steph Curry's legacy can be elevated, and I think this series could do it.
But I think the pressure is not legacy-based. I think it's because he wants to play well. He hasn't played his best basketball in the Finals, and so for that, there's that personal pressure and team pressure because they need him.
I think that's fair. Maybe it's less about pressure than it is at stake. He has a lot at stake here to the positive. I think he can play poorly and his team can win. So that's a little bit less pressure. But I think he can make himself one of the greatest players that ever lived if he's the MVP of these finals.
I agree. I also think there's a lot of pressure on Kevin Durant, because if they happen to get down a couple of games, KD with that strained calf is going to need to come back and be that player that we thought he was before he got hurt.
Well, that's the big question that hovers over this entire series. Will we see Kevin Durant? And if so, what will he look like?